Well, ho, ho, ho! Happy winter solstice, everybody. As I mentioned at the end of my last video, in something like late January, I picked out, probably I think when I was putting away my last Christmas rap record from last year's video, as I was putting that away, I picked out what I was going to do next year, and then like a week and a half later, I promptly completely forgot what it was. So all year long, I've had a stack of records sitting there with this on top, so I've always known, your next Christmas rap video is sitting there, but no idea what it is. So it's as much a surprise to me as it is to you guys. But having seen it now, I think I made a pretty good choice. So this is not to be confused with, Gucci Mane, the Gucci Boys, or the Gucci Crew 2. This is Gucci Steve with Ain't No Xmas in the Hood from 1993 on O-Town Records. And in this case, O-Town Records is Orlando, so it's a Florida label. They have a couple other artists out. This is, by the way, the only record by Gucci Steve. This is it. This is his whole catalog. Which raises the question, sort of like, is he a legitimate, hip-hop artist, or is this just like some kind of corny stand-up comedian doing this as a joke, a fake name, a silly Christmas rap record? But O-Town Record is a very small, limited label, but a legit one. It's actually the label that Mr. Mix signed to when the Two Live Crew broke up. So, they had these guys. They had Condition Red, not the ones who did Vanilla Ice, but the original Condition Red. And having listened to this, of course, many times over the years, I've kind of come to the conclusion that Gucci Steve is a legit rapper, not just someone having a laugh. Although there is definitely an element of having a laugh on this record. We're definitely going to talk about that and get into it all. Especially if you see this is just a plain generic sleeve, and that's the way it's only been released. But the cassette version has a picture cover, so I'm going to just kind of put that on the screen somewhere for you guys to look at. So that's kind of a very ridiculous cartoon with, three guys running off having shot up Santa Claus and robbed him. So it definitely makes it look like more like a joke record. And in some degrees it is, but I would say this is like an authentic, legitimate rapper who made a silly Christmas time record. And even how silly it is varies depending on what version we listen to. Unfortunately, there is next to nothing to know about Gucci Steve. Like I said, he has no other career apart from this record. We can guess from the writing credits that he's probably Stephen McCrae, because there's only two writers credited them. One of them is named Steven, so he's probably Gucci Steve. But that's really all we know about Gucci Steve, apart from what we actually hear on the record. Again, this was 1993, so we're well into sort of gangsta rap time, like Dr. Dre and Chronic right around this period. This is not Miami-based booty music. This isn't like, wiggle, 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 that kind of stuff. This is hardcore street, underground, dark, grimy. It's like a bass line, it's drums, it's not much else. But on the other hand, that bass line is Jingle Bells. So it's Jingle Bells done as a dark, somber, gritty gangster rap. And that kind of dichotomy is what this record is, the whole story of this record. So let's talk about it. So the main version, also known as kind of the gangsta mix, as it's labeled here, is a serious song pretty much. It's talking about how, as the title implies, there ain't no Christmas in the hood. So he's sort of saying Santa Claus doesn't come here. He talks about his mother's tears and inability to kind of support his family and to give him a nice Christmas. And then it gets into kind of a dark sort of, like how he got into crime and stealing and robbing and selling drugs and all this in order to provide for his family. There is, interestingly, an uncredited guest rapper on here. He only has like a small part. It's like 3 verses from Gucci Steve and a short mini verse from this other guy. We don't know who he is. In the course of this song, he does kind of mention his crew. He names them Forchi and Signal, something like that. Their names don't appear anywhere on the label or anywhere else, so all we know is how he kind of pronounces it, and he kind of throws their names away in the delivery, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I'm guessing one of them is a guest rapper. And then the third one is probably the guy who sings a hook, because somebody does sing a hook on here. In the third verse, he eventually gets arrested by the cops and caught up, and it's sort of a little bit of an Ice-T High Rollers, negative end to the song, not to overly glamorize the street life. He sounds relatively authentic. Like, it doesn't sound like some, corny stand-up comedian doing a shtick. Even though, now there's the remix, the Jolly Mix, and conceptually, the topics get a little bit more, not jolly, but over the top and silly. Like I said, in the first one's all about how, we're living in poverty and Santa Claus doesn't come to the hood, so we turn to crime to provide. And that's still basically what this one is. Except this time, Santa Claus comes and they jack Santa Claus and they rob from him in order to provide. The second verse really kind of goes out there. They talk about like Mrs. Claus and Daisy Dukes, and that's kind of the most craziest part. And then in the third one, somebody he robbed, again, there's no guest rapper on this version. Somebody he robbed comes back and shoots him, sort of a revenge payback kind of thing. So again, like the original one, it's a dark capper ending, another one of those kind of high rollers. Here's the morality. We're not glamorizing gangster life. It's actually really bad and terrible. This whole record is a strong dichotomy, kind of pulling in both directions, but it kind of works. Gucci Steve, is not necessarily like the next Rakim, a brilliant lyricist, but he's good enough to pull it off. He's better than whoever does the guest verse. So he sounds credible enough. The instrumentation, it's kind of silly that it's Jingle Bells, and it's definitely kind of stripped down. It's not like, you won't be like, wow, who's that producer? Why isn't he doing, records for Kanye West and all that? Like, he's not an amazing producer, but it's capably done. When you listen to like novelty records and Christmas rap records, sometimes that's not the case at all. So this is like a fairly credible, like if you put this up against other O-Town releases, from 1993 in this period, like not as well done as Mr. Mix's album, but better done than some of their unknown artists who had some releases on that label. And to have such a dark spin on Christmas is kind of unique, because even when you think of like Snoop Doggy Dogg doing Christmas rap records or stuff, you usually think of like Curtis Blow or the Sugar Plum Gang, they're very light, and even if they are gangster rappers, even if it is like, Luke and his posse, Clay Vassier and all doing the Christmas freestyle, they're still not really saying too much too serious or heavy hitting. And, one of the strengths of gangster rap, of course, is that it's talking some real serious shit. And this record is. On the other hand, it's also talking about, Mrs. Claus and Daisy Dukes. So it's all over the place. And like I said, that dichotomy is what's probably the most fun about it. So no more ado, let's play some clips. We'll start with the original version, the gangster mix, and then we'll go into the jolly mix. And then that'll be it for me. Happy holidays, everybody. And maybe I'll squeeze out one more video or at least one more blog for the end of the year. And then I'll see you guys in 2023. How about that? Sleigh bells ring. Santa Claus. The night before Christmas, and all through the neighborhood, ain't nothing changed, niggas strapping up to no good, always down for a cape. I heard a nigga got shot in his face by this paper. See, Christmas comes only once a motherfucking year, it just don't come around here every damn season in my hood. It's always the same, no gifts, big dinners, a trading of names. I can hear my mom's crying in a low tone. Santa, don't you know you welcome in our home? I guess you didn't know, cause your fat ass never came. Now that's a motherfucking shame. Ain't no Christmas in the hood. 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 It's kinda fucked up, but ain't no Christmas in the hood. Ain't no Christmas in the hood. Motherfuck Santa Claus, ain't no Christmas in my hood. Ain't no Christmas in the hood. It all started from my mom's tears. I can still hear her crying, still see her trying to make a way for my family. It was hard as fuck, but now it's on me. I'm in the dope cut, trying to stump a little something. Jack boys call me slipping and left my ass with nothing. I know what I gotta do, so I put my strap on, donned the mask, and started jacking too. Suited up on the north side, waiting on the fat one, strapped with the Glock 9, ready for some action. I can hear them coming up, so I'm ducking real low. Sleigh bells are ringing close, now I'm hearing ho ho, throwing up a signal, and my boys are on cue. 14's got a 45 and C-No's got the 22. Yo, he rushed his ass like a hard knock. Hit him in his eyebrow, now he's got a flip-flop. Tied him up to a Christmas tree. Motherfucker tried to buck, so I shot him in the knee. He know he's gotta give it up, but I never thought that Santa Claus would try to buck. Trying to play us like jit. Now you bleeding like a motherfucker, hollering like a bitch. That serves your ass good, yo, cause ain't no Christmas in the motherfucking hood. Ain't no Christmas in the hood. Ain't no Christmas in the hood. Ain't no Christmas in the hood.
like that, cause ain't no Christmas in my hood. Ain't no Christmas. Check this shit out. Rushing up in the workshop, looking for some loot and thinking about the shit we just pulled on